Episode 136 of the Love in Lebanon podcast features the mission of attracting people to Boone County and showcasing its welcoming communities. Allyson Gutwein, Executive Director of the Boone County Convention and Visitors Bureau, is our guest. Allyson not only shares the exciting things ahead for the CVB, but she also gets us geared up for the 2024 eclipse. If you haven't heard about it, it's big news in Boone. Episode 136 starts now.
Welcome to the Love in Lebanon podcast, highlighting all the great things happening in Lebanon, Indiana. Have an idea for an episode? Send an email to loveinlebanon@lebanon.in.gov.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode number 135 of the Love in Lebanon podcast. I am Joe LePage, the City of Lebanon Community Development Director. We've got so many things to talk about, and a gal that is just kind of on the pulse of all things Boone County, of course, Lebanon as well. We've got Allyson Gutwein here. She is the Executive Director of the Boone County Convention and Visitors Bureau, here with us on the podcast. Allyson, thanks for being here.
Hi, Joe. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to have so many different topics. I'm not even sure where to start. And folks, if you hear Allyson's voice and it's like, man, she sounds familiar, I probably know you from, you've got deep Lebanon roots here, had a business, have been a proponent of Lebanon for a long time.
Yeah.
You're a gal of many hats, many talents.
Well, interesting fun fact. My family has a farm here in Boone County, and we go back 7 generations. So even though I personally didn't grow up here, I have a lot of ties to the community and all throughout Boone County, which is pretty great. And yes, I did have my own business here in Lebanon for a number of years. It's a great town. A lot has changed since I owned my business here, and I love it. I love to see the growth.
And I'm guessing you are able to then kind of commiserate with small business owners and kind of putting yourself in those shoes. Do you remember back those days of making sure everything stays in the black and inventory and all those things, store hours?
Absolutely, especially coming through 2020. I mean, your heart really went out to those small businesses that were working hard to still be in business after it was all over. And I think that support that our community is very good at giving is still really critical. You saw a lot change from 2020 and from whenever I had a business. It is really incredibly critical to support small business whenever you have the choice. If you have the choice between where to go to eat or where to buy Christmas gifts or get your flowers or wherever it might be, it's important to choose local, and that supports the community, that supports that small business, but it really helps maintain the uniqueness of our small towns, which is great for the community, but it's great for tourism as well. People want to come visit those unique small towns, and it takes all of us being patrons of those businesses continually so that they're here for not only the residents, but for guests as well.
And not to put you too much on the spot, but when we were debating on where to move to and things like that, there was this great shop right there when you pulled into town off of Indianapolis Avenue. It was called Faucet and Flame. And it was it was one of those things where it just captured your heart. And that was your place. And
it was many years ago.
What was it? What did it take to be able to kind of have that, be that spot? Because it was one of those where people wanted to visit it. People wanted to spend time, and that was always where we got Mother's Day stuff right there. Boom.
Thanks.
One-stop shop.
Well, and you know, there's so much love whenever you have a small business that you pour into that business. It's time, it's effort, it's time away from doing other things. People don't realize exactly what it takes to run a small business unless you've been doing it yourself. And there is never a day that goes by that you don't think about what you can do to make that business better, how you can be a better contributor to your community. And it is a life choice, because just like many people around here who are in agriculture, you think about what your crops are doing. You think about what your animals are doing on your farm to make sure that they're safe and doing well. Small businesses are the same way. Is your store, did you remember to lock it up at night? Do you need to drive back and check on it? Did you turn off the lights? Did you, all these little things that add up to, there's a lot that you want to make sure is done well, done right. And the community hopefully will notice whenever you put all that love and effort into a small business. And I think there are a lot of businesses in the community here and in Boone County overall that you can tell people truly love what they do.
And how much have you seen that over the years? And you were even involved in one of the revitalization committees for downtown Lebanon, trying to help fellow small business owners kind of galvanize their efforts to be able to have downtown Lebanon be a place. What was that like to be able to? Now it's the heart of Lebanon. Everybody, it was a different name, different kind of folks there. But what was it like to have brick and mortar, your shop, that love, that blood, sweat, and tears, and then being able to try and continue to have that kind of a revitalization committee as well?
Well, and that was one of those where I picked up a banner that other people had been carrying for years. And what Lebanon has done with it is truly phenomenal. It's a very different looking organization now, and Missy has done a fantastic job with Heart of Lebanon. It really is a really incredible organization, and Lebanon should be incredibly proud of what they have. But back in the day, it was, let's try to continue to make what we have here better. And I think every time someone comes into an organization of any size, any scape, they say, can I leave it better than whenever I found it? And sometimes whenever you find organizations, they've been a little dormant. They've had leadership and volunteers that have grown tired of being the only ones having to carry that banner. And sometimes it's good to pass that torch because you get fresh ideas, you get fresh perspectives on what needs to be done. And that's certainly what Lebanon has been able to do and change and evolve as the town has changed and evolved.
How often do you look at the downtown, speaking of changing and evolving, how much things have changed and evolved in downtown Lebanon from when you had your shop in Lebanon?
Oh man, night and day. Wow. It really is a different looking community. And kudos to everyone that has put time and effort into that, because that's what it's going to take to continue to be the type of community that people want to not just open a business in, but live in. And for us, as in tourism, workforce development is going to be a really critical component of growth. Workforce development overall for many growing communities is a real challenge, because what is it that's going to attract those individuals to want to come and live and work in a community as well as play? We might be a great place to visit, but what can we do to convince people to want to come here and live here? So having a vital downtown and a vibrant spirit within a community where those that are coming in for a festival or just to visit can say, I can see myself here. That is a big change in even from whenever I was here to now. I can see this as a community where people are saying, I can see myself there. And I think that is going to truly be a good element of growth for the future.
Man, that's very wise, very insightful. Everybody, we're talking with Allyson Gutwein. She's the executive director of the Boone County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Just a gal of many hats, many talents, and being able to showcase those here on the podcast, but also countywide as well. So from having your own business, backtracking a little bit to the Zionsville Chamber, we kind of talked before we hit record about some Facebook Lives that took place during the pandemic and all the...
Lots of those. Whatever we could do to keep someone's business heartbeat going.
And it was every day at 2?
Every day at 2 for months, because we knew that that's what it was going to take to get the kind of visibility needed for those small businesses to just have folks know, I'm still here. I'm still open. My doors may have to be closed, but you can call, you can order carry out, you can order things over the phone, call them. And, that was a really tough time for everyone because of the level of uncertainty. And luckily, I think we all learned from it, but the businesses who came through it, I think now have galvanized to the point where they also feel like, if I survive that, I can survive anything. And that is a real badge of honor. I mean, they've made it through something that was incredibly tough, and now they can say, okay, I've made it through that. I can make it through a lot more. And
kudos to you and the Zville Chamber staff for kind of putting a face with a lot of those businesses. It wasn't just a front door. There are people working inside. There are people that own this small business, and they want to keep servicing the community and helping them kind of get that word out was good.
Well, and we knew that the quickest and easiest barrier to entry was social media. There was really no reason why we couldn't use that, and we did. And within a year, we went from 250,000 views to 2.5 million.
Wow.
So we
Holy cow.
we really increased the visibility just by taking to social media, and especially during a time whenever a lot of people were looking for a source of information. We happen to be that source for that community. And, it's critical to get the word out. That was a way to do it.
And so from the Zionsville Chamber, it's to the Boone CVB. What is it about the Convention and Visitors Bureau that kind of attracted you and you saw that as part of your skill set and you wanted to kind of take the reins and make it your own?
Sure. So there is a lot of overlap between a chamber world and a CVB. A lot of that as far as skill set, whenever you're talking about advocacy and advocating for a platform and making sure people understand what you do. The world of the Convention and Visitors Bureau is changing. What you do in order to make sure that people from outside the community want to come and see us, that's something that we're going to really take and run with. We're going to really start attracting people from over 50 miles out. That's kind of the parameters of a visitor. So how do we get more of those people to come into our community and bring new dollars to infuse into our community? We want to have events that are fantastic for placemaking, but we really need to bring in people who can see this community and say, again, I can see myself living there, but also who say, I can see myself coming back for a girls' weekend or for a wedding or a family reunion. What are all those reasons that they can come and see themselves here in Boone County? We have great hotels. We have great things to come and see. How do we get people to know about that? So that's really what we're taking on as our challenge, to make sure that the Boone CVB is going to be attracting those visitors from around the state and beyond to come and see our community, because right now we're one of those places that's a hidden gem. How do we get them to find us? Well, we have to show them that the gem is out there.
And I think you make a great point, too, because this past weekend you guys did a great job of highlighting both the Back to the 50s Festival and the Colonial Market Days happened here in Lebanon this past weekend. And it was one of those things where it may not be the initial trip. You may not come into town, for the rest of what Lebanon has to offer, Boone County has to offer, but it may be the return trip, like you were talking about, a gal's weekend. Let's come back to that town in Boone County, that Advance or that Lebanon, and be able to spend some time and really kind of put down some roots, perhaps.
Right. So the Boone CVB is going to start a marketing campaign called There's a Bit of Boone in All of Us. And it's meant to really showcase that we have something for everybody. No matter what you're looking for, there's Hoosier hospitality here. We have great shopping. We have great dining. We have reasons to come here year round. So even though you may have come for a festival, you can come back for other reasons, and you want to come back for other reasons because now you know the great things that are here. And that's our job, to champion that effort, to say, we want people to come here and shop and spend their money and spend their time in Boone County.
How's that been received so far since you've kind of taken over as the executive director of the CVB? Good so far?
Good so far.
So far, so good.
I think that a lot of people don't know what we're really doing yet because we haven't talked a lot about it. We haven't launched it fully yet. Okay. And a little birdie will come in and tell y'all we're actually going to change the name that we go by. So that's going to be coming out as of January. So
that's almost breaking news here on the podcast.
That's breaking news, yeah. So if there's a change in what we look like, that's intentional. We're wanting to do that to make ourselves a little easier to find, a little more of a destination marketing organization, and a place where people look to for their tourism information if they're coming from within the county or outside the county.
And within or outside the county, they'll have a physical location, hopefully one day, somewhat soon.
That's right.
To be able to visit everybody. You may look downtown and you may see some windows and doors boarded up of one of Lebanon's most historic buildings, the Pioneer Printing Building. That is the new home and will one day be occupied by the CVB. Can you tell us about what happened there? Why put down some roots that way?
Well, the CVB has been really looking for a place where they could put down roots and be within the community, but But also looking at that building, we're helping to save a piece of Lebanon's history. And I think that that's a critical component of saying we want to be a good neighbor, but we also want to make sure that people understand there's roots here that are really exciting and interesting. In fact, whenever we purchased the building, we went in and we found basketball tickets from the 60s that were printed in that building. And we're saving some of those to actually use them as art pieces within the building itself, because it's really cool to say, I understand the heritage here. And I think that we can say that about a lot of Boone County. We're taking a nod to what it used to be in the past, but we're wanting to make sure that in the future, there is growth, and the growth is what is going to make us competitive with other communities around us, not only in the type of businesses that we attract, but the type of tourism that we're going to have here going forward. And that's really going to change with the LEAP district coming in.
That's wonderful to see that building being preserved, because for so many years it was, people know that it was the home of Indiana Bell and one of the state's first switchboards and all this. So much history, so much of the state's fabric is located right in that building. And to see it kind of falling apart from the outside and just kind of breaks your heart. But it's great to know that it's in good hands with you guys.
Our hope is to breathe new life into it and honor that heritage. And when people come in and say, I can see that this was X, Y, and Z at one point, and preserve as much of that as we can, while also making it a place where we can have offices. The idea is to make it into kind of a co-working space. So we're excited about the prospect of this and where that'll go in the future.
Outstanding. Folks, we're talking with Allyson Gutwein. She is the Executive Director of the Boone County Convention and Visitors Bureau. We've talked about your past. We've talked about the present. And if we can kind of talk and round the final laps here about talking about the future, Allyson, you guys in the CVB are leading the charge for Eclipse 2024, April 8th. Yeah. We're in the path of totality here in Boone County, and you're leading the way with this. Why so passionate about that? This is part of a big deal, though. This
is a very big deal. So if you are familiar with the new In Indiana campaign, a lot of people see those new signs going up all over the state. Those are being created by the IDDC, the Indiana Destination Development Corporation. So they are the state's agency to attract tourism to the state. Their data is suggesting that the eclipse that is going to come across Boone County will be the largest single tourism event in Indiana history, which is incredibly kind of daunting for us, because we are in the path of that. And for those of you that may have followed the 2017 eclipse, there was a lot of traffic, there were a lot of people, and there's a lot of logistical pieces that were realized whenever that one kind of came across the U.S. that people didn't understand the magnitude of how many people were going to be coming to their area. And the economic impact of people coming to some of these communities was incredibly significant. So we are right on the edge of the total eclipse, but we are right off 65. Well, we are the last county on the edge of the eclipse horizon. So anybody who's coming from Chicago area or northern Indiana, right down 65, we're the first stop. So we're anticipating a very significant amount of guests for all of our communities. Now, what that means is really hard to estimate. And the IDDC is saying that our state could see an influx of between 250,000 to 2.5 million people. Now, that's a wide range. Yeah. Right. And how many of those will end up in our community, we don't know yet. I don't think we'll ever know until the day of. But we're excited to think that we have the opportunity to have a lot of economic value coming into our community. And this is also an opportunity to showcase this community to people that we might not see otherwise.
It was a couple months ago that Allyson and the CVB hosted a get-together with folks from around the county to kind of talk about things already almost all the hotel rooms in Boone County, by the time of this recording of the podcast, are either booked or pretty close to being all full and done.
Wild, isn't it? Yes. But we do have a few hotels who are taking a different strategy. They're going to be opening later. So they haven't even opened their hotel bookings. But the ones that are, it's looking quite full. So I think we are going to see a number of guests. Boone County is right here, right primed to have a lot of people from not just around the country, but around the world come to visit. And I think that a lot of small businesses need to be ready and prepared for, are you open on Mondays? If you aren't, this happens on a Monday. Maybe you should be open. Make sure that you have plenty of food if you're a restaurant. We want everyone who has the opportunity to take advantage of this economically by serving those that are going to be coming to our community to do so.
Yeah, and schools have already let out for that Monday, everybody, and it's one of those things that it happens every couple years throughout the globe, but it won't happen here for us here in Lebanon for 500 and something years. So this is literally a once-in-a-lifetime deal.
This is, yes, it's been 819
Mercy.
years since an eclipse has come across our area. So it's not often.
But we'll see another one through here.
Not in our lifetime.
Yeah. But how much pride does it give you to be able to be kind of the person in front of the parade, or kind of getting everyone together, very similar fashion to the small business revitalization, kind of getting everybody on the same page, kind of galvanized. We've used that word a couple of times during this podcast, but having everyone kind of on the same team from Advanced to Zionsville, A to Z, everybody ready for this, because it's going to be a, pardon the pun, boon for Boone County.
It is.
As for this eclipse and all the things surrounding it.
Very much so. And I think the great part about this is it's going to affect all of our communities in the county equally, right? So everyone has the opportunity to benefit from this. And that's really exciting. So for us, wanting to make sure that people know and understand the economic impact, but also how much fun is this going to be? You know, our logo alone, if you haven't heard about it yet, is Get Mooned in Boone. A little cheeky.
Oh, yeah, I see what you did there. There we go.
But we're supposed to be having fun with this because it is exciting. And if we're going to get people to buy in and be ambassadors for our community, everybody who lives here just became an ambassador for Boone County, because now we're going to have all these people coming to visit. And what do we want them to go home and talk about? We want them to tell everybody they know how friendly Boone County was, what a fantastic place it was to visit, what a fantastic place it was to eat or stay. That is the story and the message that we need everyone to go home and turn into the promoters of Boone County and tell everyone they know, go back to that place. It's great.
And something that really resonated with me, and I have regurgitated in our citywide Eclipse meetings, and stay tuned for that, everybody. We'll continue to reach out to you to be part of subcommittees and just to kind of know what's going on. But the Boone CVB is the landing page, the main spot where you can see a lot of what's happening with the Eclipse. But Instagrammable moments is something that you brought up and just kept on resonating with me, where it is cheeky, pun intended, to get mooned in Boone, but having those Instagrammable moments where it's like a digital postcard, if you will, to be able to say, I had a great time in whatever community that is, Whitestown, Zionsville, Lebanon, and being able to share that with the world during a worldwide event.
That's right. And this is a literal once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We have to convince people this is good for all of us. And what can we do to be that community that everyone wants to talk about, that everyone says, boy, I had fun there. Boy, they had some unique things. And having a fun little eclipse title is part of that.
And you brought it up, too, that down in Kentucky, they changed the name of the town briefly, and they've used that in years after 2017 with the last eclipse down there, where they've kind of brought back some of those same events. So it's not just, as we talked about earlier with the CVB and the great things, where it's not just the initial eclipse, but it's years to come where we're having those memories continue to be made on a routine basis because they had such a great time in that community.
Right.
I'm guessing you're hoping for something the same here.
Oh, you bet. The Boone CVB is going to have a concert the weekend of the eclipse. So we really want people to come in and not just come for the day of the eclipse, but come in for that weekend. Come stay. come see what this community is all about. Don't make it a one-day event. Make it a weekend, because there's a lot here that everyone's going to want to see and experience. It's going to take more than a day to be able to do so.
If you go to the city's website, everybody, there is a redirect to the CVB's website. You can see the logo for Get Mooned in Boone right there. That's going to be the best spot, right? To check out the CVB's website for things that are added. We talked before, everybody, before we hit record. Some of the events aren't set in stone just yet, but they will be. And you're going to be hosting an event coming up later on this year, November, I think, to be able to kind of hopefully have some things lined up, so to speak, to be able to have.
Yes, for the event creators, we're going to hopefully have a November 8th kind of day of...
What you got?
Yes, just that. Tell me what's going on so that the CVB itself can start promoting those. And if we know, other people can kind of play off the theme, do different things within their community. Some may be a little more science focused, some may be a little bit more nature focused, some may be a kids focus, whatever that might be. You can kind of decide where you want to go and have as your viewing spot based on what those activities are going to be. Some are just going to be general viewing spots, but we'll have restrooms, we'll have food trucks, we'll have something available for you that's more than just an open field. And we want to make sure that everyone knows where those are. So those will be located on the Get Mooned in Boone page, which is attached to the CBB website.
They just go right there and check it out and plan their weekend and
that's right.
Have a great time. Allyson, thank you so much for being here on the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And we talked. We want to do an eclipse kind of themed pod closer to the event with all the different communities, and so stay tuned for that. You're okay to do that? You're good to go?
I'm all in.
Allyson, thank you again, and thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Love in Lebanon podcast. We've got more episodes coming your way very soon. Take care.